Drivers, here's something that's very important. More and more people are buying cargo and sprinter vans, and for good reason. They are both money printing machines if you know how to use them correctly. And I'm not even talking about hash van life, which is another awesome thing you could do. I'm talking about side hustles. I'm talking about starting your own business or even becoming your own boss as an owner-operator. The sky is truly the limit. But there's one thing that I see tripping people up. And it's something that's really important to understand before you even think about putting your van to work. And that's, when is the right time to purchase commercial cargo van insurance? See, if you're planning on using your van for anything other than personal use, like hauling your own stuff around, you're going to need to make sure you're properly insured. Driving around without the right insurance is very risky. You might get away with it for a little while, but if something happens, you could end up getting into some serious financial trouble. So, in this video, I'm going to break down everything you need to know about cargo van insurance, from what it covers and what it doesn't, to how to get the best rates, and even some little-known insurance options that could save you a ton of money. So buckle up, hit that subscribe button, and let's get into it. Alright, so first things first, let's talk about when you need commercial insurance. If you're just using your van for personal errands, stuff like going to Home Depot, picking up groceries, maybe even moving your own stuff, your personal auto insurance policy will probably be enough. The same goes for if you're just using your van to haul around things for your hobbies. Got a band? Cool, your personal auto insurance will likely cover your gear if you're transporting it to a gig. Just make sure you've got adequate coverage for your musical instruments. You don't want to be stuck with a hefty bill if something happens to your prized Les Paul on the way to the show. Now, where it gets a little tricky is when you start using your van to help friends or family move. Now, if you're just doing a friend a favor and not getting paid, your personal policies still cover you. But it's always a good idea to check with your insurance company just to be safe. The last thing you want is to get into an accident and find out that you're not covered because you were using your van for something other than what's explicitly listed on your policy. So bottom line, if you're using your van for personal use, hobby stuff, or the occasional favor for a friend, you're probably in the clear with your personal auto insurance policy. But as soon as you start using your van for anything that even remotely resembles a business, you need to start thinking about commercial insurance. So let's say you're using your van for a side hustle. Maybe you're doing some mobile detailing, offering handyman services, or cleaning houses on the weekends. This is where things start to get a little murky. Technically, most personal auto insurance policies don't cover business use, and that includes side hustles. So, if you're driving to a client's house to detail their car and you get into an accident, your personal policy might not cover the damages, even if you're not technically on the clock yet. Now, some insurance companies might be a little more lenient when it comes to low-risk side hustles, especially if you're not doing it full-time. But it's very important to be upfront with your insurance company about how you're using your van. Don't try to hide it or be vague about it, because if they find out later on that you were using your van for business purposes without telling them, they could deny your claim or even cancel your policy altogether. And this applies even if you're just delivering products for your own small business, like if you're selling stuff on Etsy or at the farmer's market. If you're using your van to transport goods that you're selling, even if it's just a few times a month, it's still considered business use and you need to make sure you're covered. The bottom line here is that it's always better to err on the side of caution. If you're using your van for anything that generates income, even if it's just a little bit on the side, talk to your insurance company about getting the right coverage. It might cost you a little bit more upfront, but it could save you a massive headache and a ton of money down the road. What kind of headache, you may ask? Well, a driver informed me that he heard of a driver that was at the airport picking up cargo. The airport security did what he called a random security check of all vehicles receiving goods. He said several vehicles were impounded due to not having proper commercial cargo carrier insurance. A serious cargo van financial headache. Okay, so now let's talk about delivery apps and gig work, because this is where a lot of people get tripped up. You see those ads for apps like Roadie, GoShare, and Amazon Flex, and they make it sound so easy to make extra money with your van, right? And while it's true that these platforms can be a great way to put your van to work, you need to be really careful about the insurance situation. First of all, don't assume that just because you're working through an app, you're automatically covered. Some apps, like Roadie, do offer some limited cargo insurance and contingent auto liability coverage, which basically means they'll step in and help cover damages if your personal auto insurance denies a claim, because you were driving for Roadie at the time. But even then, the coverage limits are often pretty low, like we're talking maybe $10,000 worth of cargo coverage. That might sound like a lot, but if you're transporting something valuable, it's not going to go very far. Other apps, like GoShare, might require you to have a certain level of insurance, but they might be okay with you using a personal policy if you're only doing part-time work. Again, you need to read the fine print and make sure you understand exactly what's covered and what's not. And then you've got apps like Amazon Flex, which might offer some contingent liability coverage, but often only for smaller vehicles and not necessarily for larger cargo vans. Plus, even if an app does offer some insurance, it's usually secondary coverage, which means it only kicks in after your personal auto insurance has been exhausted. The takeaway here is that if you're thinking about using your van for gig work, you need to do your research and understand the insurance requirements for each platform you're considering. All right, so by now you're probably thinking, okay, I need better insurance for my van, but I don't want to break the bank. And I hear you. The good news is that you don't necessarily need to go out and get a full-blown $3,000 commercial policy right off the bat. There are ways to get the coverage you need without completely draining your bank account. One option is to see if you can simply add business use to your existing personal auto insurance policy. This will obviously increase your premium a bit, but it's usually not as expensive as getting a separate commercial policy. Just keep in mind that not all insurance companies offer this option, and even if they do, they might have restrictions on the type of business use they'll cover. Another option to consider is pay-as-you-go commercial insurance. This type of insurance is perfect for people who are just starting out with their van business or who only use their van for business purposes occasionally. Basically, you only pay for the coverage you need when you need it, so if you only use your van for business a few days a month, you'll only pay for insurance for those days. Pretty cool, right? Now, if you're really serious about building a business with your van, you might want to think about getting hired and non-owned auto, HNOA insurance. This type of insurance is specifically designed for businesses that hire independent contractors who use their own vehicles for work. So, if you're planning on hiring other drivers down the line, this is definitely something to look into. And finally, if you're really going all in on your van business, you might want to consider registering your business as a sole proprietor, or LLC. This will not only give you some legal protection, but could also help you get better rates on commercial insurance. So, that's it, drivers. Everything you need to know about cargo van insurance to stay safe, legal, and financially sound. Remember, you don't need to go out and get the most expensive commercial policy right away. Start with the basics and scale up your coverage as your business grows. The most important thing is to be honest with your insurance company about how you're using your van and to make sure you have adequate coverage for your specific needs. And don't be afraid to shop around and compare quotes from different insurance providers to make sure you're getting the best possible rate. There's a whole world of opportunity out there for van owners, so don't let insurance hold you back from achieving your goals. Get out there, work smart, and I'll catch you in the next video. As always, stay safe.